What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So today I am here with the all-new 2024 Honda Prologue. And if you're not aware of what this is Honda's first fully electric battery-powered vehicle. And there is certainly a lot to talk about here. First, let's start with the obvious. If you're familiar with Honda vehicles, you may look at this and say, this looks quite different than any Honda I've ever seen before. And you'd be correct. The reason this looks so much different from every other Honda is because, well, it's not made by Honda. This new Honda Prologue was a joint venture between Honda and General Motors. And this is built on GM's Ultium EV platform, so it shares the platform with the Chevy Blazer EV, the Cadillac Lyriq, and also the sister car to this one, which is the new Acura ZDX. So looking around the interior, pretty much everything in here is GM parts. The center screen and its software, GM, gauge cluster, the steering wheel. The only thing Honda in here is the badge, truthfully speaking. And at first, when I heard that GM was going to be making Honda's first EV, I was like, what the hell, why? But it makes a lot of sense now. You see, Honda kinda got caught off guard a little bit by all the other brands that were putting out fully electric vehicles, and at this point now they were falling behind. So instead of trying to scramble to put something together that they really didn't have the time to fully research and develop, they decided to partner with a company who knows what they're doing, who've been doing electrification for a little while now. And I'll tell you right away, the Honda Prologue is a much better EV than the Toyota BZ4X. Toyota was in a similar boat, waited too long to put out an EV, but then kind of made one themselves. They partnered with Subaru to do it, but kind of missed the mark. So in that regard, it was a pretty smart decision for Honda to partner with GM. So now with that part out of the way, let's talk about the actual car. Honda did say that they had input in the steering and the suspension to try to make it feel a little bit more like a Honda. But to be 100% honest, the way this car rides, to me, feels a lot like a Chevy. The suspension in particular, I think, feels a lot like the Chevy Suburban. But now, I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually really like the way the Suburban rides. It has a very soft ride to it. It eats up the bumps and the potholes really well. It actually feels rather luxury car-like. The suspension is multi-link front and rear, and it just feels good. And another big component of the ride that makes it feel like a luxury car is the road noise. And no, I'm not saying that the car is quiet just because it doesn't have an engine and runs on a battery, but the noise isolation inside the cabin, it's very quiet. In normal driving like this, you can't hear really any road noise coming from outside. And in a little bit, we'll take this out on the highway to show you what it's like there. And overall, it's just a very comfortable vehicle. The seats are comfortable. The cabin feels large. It's nice and airy. You can see here, the dashboard is like really big, like front to back. It just makes you feel like there's a lot more room in here. And the nice large panoramic moonroof definitely helps with that. You don't feel like you're in an enclosed space. And despite the fact that this Elite model is sitting on 21-inch wheels, the ride is still quite soft. Larger wheels usually make for a more harsh ride, but that just really doesn't feel like the case here. And another big plus on this Elite trim, self-sealing tires. The other trims don't have it, only the Elite trim. And after just having had a blowout on the highway in my car, I can definitely appreciate that. So as most EVs do, this does have one pedal driving. Most of the time I have it off, but I'm gonna have it on now just to demonstrate it. But you do have two different settings. You have normal and high. So having it on automatically puts on the brake hold. So I take my foot off the brake, don't go anywhere. So now we're gonna take it downhill. So right now I'm accelerating downhill. As soon as I take my foot off, it feels like it brakes rather quickly. I'm letting go, coming up to a stop sign, and I never even put my foot on the brake. It brought me to a complete stop in a pretty short amount of time. But the benefit of it is the regenerative braking, so while the car is actually doing that, that helps prolong the range on the battery. So yeah, the one pedal driving, it works well in stop and go traffic like this. Not sure how this regenerative braking is gonna play out on the highway. I certainly would not want the car to be braking hard if I let up off the accelerator while, you know, at high speeds on the highway. So we are gonna test that out and see how that goes. Okay, so I'm gonna accelerate and then let off. Okay, so at higher speeds, it is less aggressive. Accelerating and letting off. So yeah, it won't brake hard on the middle of the highway. So good to know. Okay, so we're gonna do a test of the acceleration. I have sport mode turned on. That's this button right over here. So in terms of changing drive modes, it's really just that one button. You have normal and sport. Yo, what the fuck is wrong with people? Backing up on a one lane. Okay, so the sounds have just gotten a little bit louder. All right, so I'm gonna come to a complete stop. It definitely makes cooler sounds in sport mode. Now that stretch of the road that I do the acceleration test on is slightly uphill, and I think the 0 to 60 time on this is right around like 5.8, 6 seconds. So that checks out. But I will say, on just that one pull, my range just dropped like 3 miles for what it's worth. So like when you put your foot down, that feeling of like getting thrown back in your seat, it's there, but it's not quite as powerful as some other EVs that I've driven, like the Lexus RZ and the Fisker Ocean 1. Those cars both do have quicker acceleration, but this car is not slow by any means. This one is a little bit more modest, and I think probably a little bit more practical, because some EVs have speed that is just excessive and really just not necessary. So at highway speeds, the road noise is still really quiet, but there is a tiny bit of wind noise coming in, but it's weird because it's only coming from the right side. So that leads me to believe maybe just on the right side of this car, there's maybe like a issue with one of the seals. But road noise, highway speeds, full of traffic, still very quiet in here. So I still have it in sport mode, and the sound that's coming through, it is very artificial. I mean, it sounds cool though. So let's talk about the audio system. This is equipped with a 12-speaker Bose premium audio system that's available on both the Elite and Touring trim. So let's take a quick listen. One of the things Honda said for the Prologue was that even though GM was building the car, that they specifically were putting in input for the steering and the suspension. And I have to say, I don't really feel that. This doesn't steer like a typical Honda. To me, it steers like a Suburban. And sure, the steering is accurate in terms of direction, but there's kind of just like a feeling of being disconnected from the road. In most cars, you can kind of feel input from the road into the wheel. This one, to me, not so much. So if you're used to typical Honda steering, this really doesn't feel like it. With that said though, I mean, it's fine. Now in terms of handling, this car weighs about 5,200 pounds. And something that really helps that is the fact that this car is a lot lower. It's long, it's wide, and it's short. So that helps lower the center of gravity to the point where you're not really feeling like you're gonna roll over if you're throwing it into a corner. Both the weight and the width of the car help it feel very planted on the road, but I wouldn't throw this thing around like it's a sedan. And the MSRP of this 2024 Honda Prologue Elite All-Wheel Drive is just under $60,000. So that's gonna wrap up this test drive of the new 2024 Honda Prologue. Big thank you to Honda for sending me this Prologue to drive for a week to really get familiar with so I could give you the best review possible. And if you're in northern New Jersey, be sure to check out Route 23 Honda located in Pompton Plains. Let me know your thoughts on the new Prologue down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please share with a friend and subscribe. It'll really help the channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos. Let me know down in the comments what other vehicles you want to see on the channel next, and be sure to follow @Optical Automotive on TikTok and Instagram, and check out the page on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.